Hi, hello, small groups. It's Pastor Vogel. I wanted to thank you for all the ways that you continue to support Genesis Community. We've been doing this ministry for the last 2 years, and throughout that entire time, we couldn't continue to do it each and every week without your support. So thank you. I wanted to offer a few things for you in terms of an update. First of all, updating you what's going on Genesis Community. We've made a move to Saturdays, and secondly, I really wanted to offer you some encouragement. And so, first of all, as many of you know, you've been serving at Genesis for 2 years, sometimes once a year, sometimes more than that. We've made a move from Sundays to Saturdays, and you might be wondering why we did that. First of all, it's not because Genesis Community is failing or good things aren't happening at Genesis. That's far from the truth. In fact, this past summer, during June and July, we had our highest attendance ever. We had an average of 50 people attending, and we've been doing quite well. We've had good attendance throughout this year, but we've sensed the need to serve even more people. We want more people to serve. We want more people to experience a new beginning through the power of God's love. And so we made the decision to switch to Saturdays, and I'm going to give you a couple of the reasons why. First of all, the biggest reason was we realized that if we made the switch to Saturdays, we would be the only complimentary meal that meets every single week on a Saturday in the Livingston County area. So for people where a complimentary meal would be a blessing, that's pretty huge. I mean, think about the different people: single mothers, people who have low income levels. There's all sorts of people that can be blessed by that complimentary meal, and many people we haven't yet reached out to. And so that was a big part of that decision. The second part was as I talked to many of the people who attend Genesis, I began to realize that many people work on Mondays, and naturally, that many people do, including a lot of the people that attend Genesis, and to leave your home on a Sunday night and even to socialize can take a lot of energy out of you, and so to be motivated to come on a regular basis and to do so with the understanding that the new week is hanging over your head, and some people have to get up pretty early. It became clear to me that moving it to Saturdays would actually be an encouragement and actually re-energize some of the people who've been coming for a little while. And so with a greater picture in mind and with the encouragement of many of the people already attending, we made the switch. And as we pondered that idea, we also discovered that staff members who work at Genesis every single week, it would be a huge blessing to them. And I should also include volunteers on that as well. When you come on Sunday morning and you are in many cases, many staff members are here for both services and also education hour in between, of course. And then the idea with Genesis, of course, is you have to come back to serve that night. It becomes a very long day, and it's hard to bring a lot of energy when you've been on top, when you have to be on top of your game all day long. And so this doesn't just include me, but Ann Colley, Amy Miles, Suzanne Biddix, and others. They're being here all day takes a lot of energy, and of course, then our volunteers, musicians, some who will serve Sunday morning and then come back Sunday night. It's a long day. For small groups such as yourself, it's a long day, and for our tech people, I could go right down the list. There's lots of people that it just becomes a long day for. And so, as I talked to staff members and volunteers, I began to realize that Saturday evenings seem to be a better fit, and so it just makes sense to do that. And when we finally decided to make that switch, it just struck me that for you as small groups, one of the reasons I haven't asked for anything beyond serving the meal is because I know it's a long day for you. But by making the switch to Saturdays, I wanted to offer an additional encouragement for you. Genesis is made up of three components. We have our hospitality, the meal. We have the music and message, and the final component is connect. That's the time when we gather around tables. We get everybody at the tables gets three questions that we call them focus questions that get you focused on the topic for the day. And it gives people an opportunity to share, not fix, but just share how sin is at work in their lives, very transparently and in a safe environment. We don't share outside the tables what's shared at the tables. And in addition to that, share how God's love has had an impact on their lives. And for me personally, it's been an enormous blessing. I can kind of take my pastor hat off for a while and just share how how I'm a sinner like everybody else, and I have insecurities and fears, and I've made mistakes just like anybody else. But I also get to share how God's love has had an impact on my life. And probably more impactful for me than anything is I get to hear other people share, and I get to hear how God is at work in their lives, and also how their story is full of lots of struggles. I'm not the only one who would share that sentiment. There's other staff members, and you're going to hear from Annette Miller in just a little while how that component of Genesis is enormous. And I can tell you that when we've had other groups come in and they stick around for the entire evening, it's very helpful because people come in contact with new people, new stories that they get to hear, and the people that have stuck around, such as a group from Concordia Ann Arbor that comes every single week. It's a group of like 20 kids. They serve the meal and they stick around. They always stick around every single year for Connect, and they always say that portion of the night is just eye-opening for them. And for me, it's eye-opening as well, learning about some college kids and what they're going through. I guess the point is this. I know that if your small group is willing to commit to not only the meal, but to stick around for Connect, just hang out till 7 p.m. You can leave right after you're done. I know that you will be blessed, and you will have things to talk about in your small groups that you have no idea about. And so that's my encouragement for you. Stick around for Connect and give it a try. And beyond that, I hope that you're going to be encouraged by the testimony that takes place right after what I'm saying here. Annette Miller is somebody who's been blessed by Genesis Community. She's been here from the very beginning, and she offers you a story that will help you to see why supporting Genesis Community is so important. Because she's just one of many who've been blessed by Genesis. And when you come in and serve and you don't necessarily know all the stories, it can sometimes be easy to question, why are we doing this? Trust me, we're doing good work, and God is doing amazing things. If you have any questions for me, please email me, call me. And other than that, I hope you are blessed by Annette's testimony, and I hope my intro here and her testimony will spark some conversations in your group.
That's 7.5 years ago now, I was diagnosed with breast cancer, and it became harder and harder for me to attend church. I didn't feel like I was getting the support. I was feeling extremely depressed and lonely, and didn't feel that God was walking with me. And it was a very difficult time. And every time I tried to go to service, I was just beside myself, overwhelmed, and very uncomfortable. So I had stopped going. Felt kind of deserted, I guess you could say, at that point.
So you felt like the church wasn't there for you?
The church was definitely not there for me. Actually, my cancer walk was a very, very lonely time in my life. So when Genesis started, I had been feeling the presence of God in me and talking with me, and it just seemed to all come together at the right time. And I remember my brother putting out on his Facebook page, Genesis, and I had no idea what Genesis was. And his little thing was, and I don't know, maybe it was the way it was worded for the advertising that Genesis was starting, but it said, "Are you ready? Are you ready to take a walk?" And my response to him was, "Well, how long is the walk?"
That's funny.
And I'm thinking, as I look back at that, I said, this is an eternal walk that I have taken, and Genesis has really given me so much more than I even anticipated that it would. So
I find it interesting because Yeah, I know Mike was an encouragement for you, and you talk about Genesis was a blessing for you, but to kind of get you in the door and to get you to, I guess, slow down enough to give it a try. It was
Right.
really your brother
Yes.
who kind of gave you that extra nudge, and he didn't. If I remember correctly, he probably attended with you for how long?
About almost a year.
Yeah,
Almost a
yeah.
year.
I remember seeing him like every
I'm
single time.
very, very grateful for
Yeah,
him,
yeah.
and my sister-in-law too, because
Hmm.
um, he dedicated his Sunday nights to come here and be a real big supporter
Hmm.
of me taking this walk,
Yeah,
and um, I'm have a lot of gratitude
yeah.
for him and my sister-in-law for allowing him to open those doors for me. It's meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
I guess was there anything more you wanted to share on that, or I can move on to the next question?
you can move on.
I can move on. um, all right. So now, I mean, so 2 years later, so like you said, your
Yes.
brother so Mike walked with you for a year. You'd been coming to Genesis, and you slowly got more connected to more people
Hmm.
than just your brother. And I think that seemed to be a way. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like that was a way in which, like he kind of was the you knew him, he encouraged you, but then as you got more connected to other people, you began to come even when he wasn't here.
Right.
And then over time, I remember you went through, you ended up deciding to take a member class and
Mm.
become a member of Shepherd Lakes. And so now you attend regular on Sunday morning. You still come to Genesis every Sunday night, or well, now we're on Saturday, so on Saturday nights.
Right.
And then and you rarely miss a Bible, so you're weekly there at the Tuesday Bible study at Genesis.
Mhm.
I guess for me, it's from the outside looking in, it's interesting to know kind of what changed for you, because
Mhm.
at one point you were kind of disconnected from the church, and now it's like you
Mhm.
can't get enough of Jesus. You want to get to know him more.
Right.
What was it would you say that changed for you?
Um, well, the way that Genesis has structured itself, to be able to connect with others that are walking with different struggles, and it doesn't matter what the struggles are, that you know, to realize that we all have struggles in our life, and to have a connection with others that isn't judgmental,
Mm-hmm.
that um, everybody embraces everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and everything stays within Genesis, I
Mm-hmm.
think has made it more comfortable for me. I've
Yeah.
um, met a lot of people and have made a lot of friends, both through Genesis and then again with Shepherd of the Lakes.
Yeah.
Um, this community, um, I'll tell you, I get more hugs from this entire community than I have in the past, and it's
Yeah.
very welcoming, and it's a secure feeling, and
Mm-hmm.
especially when you start out, when you're unsure,
Mm-hmm.
you're going through a hard time, and you're unsure of who you are, to have that constant
Mm-hmm.
support. And it is a support, and it's welcoming and makes you feel comfortable,
Mm-hmm.
and it becomes a family.
Yeah.
And um, and that was really important to me. But the way Genesis um, operates, with the meal and the music and the word,
Mm-hmm.
and then being able to connect with others
Yeah.
afterwards has been very, very important,
Yeah.
to share struggles with somebody. And they could be the same struggles, they could be totally different struggles, or they could just be something that you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
And to know that there's a lot of people that are going through the same struggles you are,
Yeah.
and a lot of times, everybody keeps it like so internal,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but to be able to share it
Yeah.
is wonderful, and to share it with God's love is even better.
Yeah.
And I guess I've been feeding on that.
Yeah.
so
Well, you
so
said,
it's been very important for me um, to just learn more. You know, I went to church, you know, pretty much all my life, you know, with the exception of some struggling times,
mm-hmm.
and it was almost robotic. You
Yeah.
know, that was
Going through the
something we
motions.
were taught at a young age
Mm-hmm.
that you do. You go to church every Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess until Genesis, that I was doing, you know, what was expected of me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that is what you're supposed to do. You were supposed to go to church every Sunday morning, you know, and that's what you did. But with Genesis, it opened up the Bible to me, and now I'm learning more about God and who He is and how He loves me,
Mm-hmm.
and that's such an amazing feeling that's probably why I'm at Bible study every week, is
Yeah.
because I want to learn more about Him and how He's really with me.
It's kind of like, so you see, like, you talked about being, like, during that time of the hard time in your life, you were isolated and felt very alone.
Yes.
And so what you're saying is really, in many ways, through relationships, the relationship of your brother, and then bringing him in, and becoming and growing in your relationships with people here, you started to take a closer look at God, and really now, I mean, you'd really talk about going to Bible study as building your relationship with Jesus.
Yes.
And you mentioned, I talked to you the other day. I remember you talked about how much, the whole concept of a new beginning, and being defined as hope, healing, and growth, things that are offered to us through Jesus, how much that resonated with you and still does as something that we need every day.
Right.
That was
Yes.
that was cool for me to hear you say that.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah, the foundation of Genesis.
yeah.
Yes.
Let's see. So you kind of described what changed for you, and kind of going from kind of isolation to being drawn back in, I guess. And now you're not just coming and I guess being served, but you're also looking to serve. And so, like, I know you've volunteered for events for Shepherd of Lakes. I think like the auction and some other things you volunteered for, and you're also You're also part of a team of volunteers we're developing for Genesis as well. You mind sharing, where I guess your drive to serve comes from?
I think it's more of giving back, because I feel that I've received so much from the Genesis that it's my way of giving back, and that's what we're supposed to do. Is you know, God is feeding us His love, and it's our responsibility to feed that love to others. And one way to do that is to serve, and to get that message across and to help people. And if I have an opportunity to help someone